What if the very thing holding you back is your desire to be liked? Welcome to this episode of Chats with Jason. I'm, of course, your host, Jason S. Bradshaw, and today's special edition takes you behind the velvet curtain into a day with Dan, a private, legendary workshop, conference, masterclass, call it what you will, with none other than the legendary Dan Kennedy himself. He was joined by Russell Brunson and a handful of elite marketers. Now, this wasn't just your typical conference, fireside chat type event. It was a wake-up call. Now, if you've ever struggled to stand out in a crowded market, this episode will challenge you and challenge everything you think you know about positioning and influence. So who is Dan Kennedy? Dan Kennedy is widely considered the godfather of direct response marketing. Dan has been influencing marketers and business leaders for decades. He's authored over 30 books. He's built ad campaigns delivering billions of dollars in revenue and coached everyone from solo entrepreneurs to mega corporations. The thing is, he's not interested in being popular. He's interested in being profitable. And he knows that in marketing, the two don't always go hand in hand. So there were three big takeaways from the day with Dan. First, disruption requires a radical idea, a bold position, and a clear solution. Here, Dan's core message centered around a three-part disruption framework that he and others have used to shake up industries like speaking, chiropractic, and advertising, to name just a few. The radical idea: you must begin with a bold and controversial idea, one that challenges the status quo and forces people to think differently. This idea is not safe and it's not soft. It's something that stirs emotion and invites attention. Second, you need to attack authority. Dan emphasized the need to take a strong stance against the wise elders, the traditional gatekeepers of your industry. Challenge their rules, point out their limitations, and set yourself apart by calling out what no one else is willing to say. And the third key secret was to present the better solution. Finally, you have to ride in with a clear, compelling offer. You're the man on the white horse, so to speak. You can't just break things, you have to rebuild with a better way. Your audience needs to see the vision you're fighting for, not just the villain you're fighting against. You need a radical statement, then take on the authority, and finally show up with the better solution. That will get you attention, and attention pays. The second core theme or idea that he shared was that opposition isn't a threat, it's a marketing asset. Dan didn't just teach disruption, he taught how to thrive in the tension it creates. He explained to us how being attacked, dismissed, or criticized by mainstream media or establishment voices can actually amplify your message. Controversy fuels attention. When the establishment criticizes you, you gain credibility with the audience that feels overlooked or frustrated. Negative press creates curiosity, and Dan cited multiple examples where backlashes led to boosts in leads, engagement, and ultimately revenue. Infamy beats invisibility. Playing it safe keeps you in obscurity, but becoming known, even for being provocative, positions you as a leader to those seeking change. Opposition is the quickest way to attract attention. Dan's message was clear. Stop trying to be loved by everyone. Start standing for something strong enough to be loved and hated for. And that's how a movement begins. And the third core takeaway from Day with Dan was that the market rewards clarity, consistency, and bold differentiation. Dan's final truth was perhaps the most sobering of them all, but it was also fiercely empowering. He urges you and me alike, entrepreneurs, leaders, to stop defining themselves by what they sell, the shoes, the courses, the speaking gigs, and instead to see themselves as being in the marketing business. Be clear, your message should instantly communicate what you do and who it's for. No fluff, no jargon. Be consistent. Don't reinvent yourself every quarter. Own your message and keep pounding the same drum until your market can repeat your mission back to you. Be boldly different in every market. There are restless natives waiting for a new voice. Be that voice. Take the stand no one else will take. Conversion, after all, is not just about a sale. It's about changing beliefs and creating fans. Russell Brunson is co-founder of ClickFunnels and the architect behind thousands of entrepreneurs' first 6- and 7-figure launches. Russell provided a counterpoint to Dan's bold provocation, anchoring it in practical momentum. He reinforced Dan's message with personal examples, moments when ClickFunnels faced criticism, ridicule, and pushback. Those moments of resistance, he said, were actually signals that they were stepping into leadership. Russell's key addition to this day is that the idea that radical positioning, once found, must be repeated until it becomes religion. You can't be unclear and expect conversions. You also can't keep changing your message and expecting loyalty. He reminded listeners that clarity plus consistency equals trust, and trust equals transactions. So as I reflect back on Day with Dan Kennedy, the final takeaway to share with you is that you don't need everyone's approval. You need your tribe's attention. Use bold ideas to disrupt the norm. Embrace opposition as a signal of impact and stay obsessively clear, consistent, and differentiated. That's it for this episode of Chats with Jason. I hope you were challenged to rethink what it means to be bold and inspired to draw your own line in the sand, to stand out and to have your message heard consistently. And remember, when you improve the experience, you improve your business and the world around you. I'll see you in the next episode of Chats with Jason.